Taoiseach, I would also like to press you on dates for the referendum on keeping water services and infrastructure in public ownership and the issue of housing, the referendum, both of which have been promised by this government. And particularly on the latter, I mean, the government keeps echoing the mantra that it's the biggest priority for them. It is the most severe, which most certainly is the most severe social crisis facing this country, is the fact that hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in one way or another are impacted by this absolutely devastating housing crisis. Whether it is unaffordable house prices, mortgage interest hikes, the lack of public and affordable housing, the lack of rights for tenants, or worst of all, families, children, individuals being driven into homelessness, trapped in homelessness, and then often side by side with that huge amounts of empty property sitting around, extortionate rents being charged when ordinary people can't afford. So when are we, now we know, obviously, before you say it, a referendum doesn't change all that. But time and time again, the government have cited the Constitution and legal concerns in terms of saying why they couldn't do certain things about vacant properties, about controlling rents, and a number of things that people have proposed that could help address the crisis. Those legal obstacles need to be removed by making those things clear and putting the right to housing into the Constitution. So are you going to do it before there is a general election, as you promised? That is the question.
Thanks. I just want to thank the deputies again for their questions. Arising from the programme for government, there are commitments to hold constitutional referenda on the following matters: extending the franchise of presidential elections to Irish citizens living in Northern Ireland and overseas, housing, and Article 41.2 of the Constitution, that's the Women in the Home Gender Equality referendum. Consideration is also being given to other possible referendums. In June 2022, the government reaffirmed its commitment to participate in the unified patent system and to hold the necessary constitutional referendum to enable Ireland to do so. And we're considering holding that concurrent with the local and European elections next year. Under the programme for government, the issue of environment, including water, and its place in the Constitution is to be referred to a relevant joint Oireachtas committee for consideration. An amendment to the Constitution to provide non-religious declarations as an optional alternative could be considered in response to the UN Human Rights Committee recommendations, and other possible referendums for consideration also include amendments to the permitted number of cabinet ministers under certain circumstances, such as maternity leave, and in the longer term, in light of rising population, reforming Article 16.2 to cap the number of members of Dáil Éireann. In relation to the presidential elections, the programme for government includes a commitment to hold a referendum on the extension of the franchise for presidential elections to Irish citizens living outside the state. This is something I strongly support and continue to do so. In light of that commitment, the 39th Amendment of the Constitution Presidential Elections Bill was placed in the Dáil Order Paper by Government in July 2020. The timing of the referendum is yet to be finalised, and there is considerable complexity involved, both in terms of registering people to vote in Northern Ireland and overseas, and organising elections in other jurisdictions. But it is something that I still think we should do, and we'd be minded to do it concurrent with the next presidential election in 2025.